Hey everyone, my name is Davan, and today I will be reviewing Horizon Forbidden West. Let me start off by saying that I wasn't a mega fan of the first game in the series, Horizon Zero Dawn. I thought it was a great game with great combat, but large parts of its world felt hollow and much of its story and characters fell flat for me. So when the release date of Horizon Forbidden West was approaching, I was just expecting to get into some cool fights with some awesome robot dinosaurs and enjoy some pretty graphics. But what I got was so much more. I've put over 30 hours into the game and I'm still nowhere close to completing it, but I've played enough to say that this game is a masterpiece, and it has easily become my favorite of the PlayStation first-party titles. The combat, world design, characters, side quests, every part of the game hits just right. I was glued to my controller since booting up the game, and the few flaws it does have really didn't impact my experience. The first thing I want to go over is the combat, and instead of just talking about it, I'm going to demonstrate just why it's so amazing. There's a type of enemy in the game called Longlegs. It's a very aggressive machine, and it will do whatever it takes to close the distance. I had invested quite a few skill points into the melee tree at this point, and wanted to see if my spear would be viable against the Longlegs. I instantly took a consistent beating from them. The Longlegs have this area of effect attack that's devastating if you're anywhere near them. They really don't give you enough time to roll or jump away if you're trying to hit them. So I thought, okay, this has always been a game focused on ranged combat, so maybe melee isn't viable in this scenario, and I'll just use my bow. But then I decided to practice using my spear, and after properly understanding how this machine behaves, I was able to pull this off. What you are seeing here is true mechanical depth. There are so many ways to approach this scenario, and the choices only open up as you learn more about the enemies and the game's mechanics. Players are going to want to keep coming back to the combat and dive into its many intricacies. And no matter the playstyle, whether it's focused on stealth, traps, range, or melee, there is always something that will surprise you and reward you for taking advantage of that depth. The machines have an overwhelming variety of attacks, from shooting lasers to whipping their tail, or even just rolling their bodies to crush you. All of these attacks come out really quickly, and once you get the timing down, it's very satisfying to defeat them. The many different abilities and tools at your disposal harmonize perfectly. If you have a buffed critical strike, you can use special arrows to knock your opponent down and go for the strike. If you have the machine override, you can use the cloaking ability to sneak up to a machine and turn it into an ally. There's so much strategy to it. Even after I'd put down the controller, I was still thinking about the different ways I can approach it. It is that good. So how does the game get you to these awesome combat encounters? Well, you will be spending a lot of time with the many side quests available. The side quests have meaningful stories behind them, with great dialogue, writing, and directing. The characters don't feel like quest givers, they feel like inhabitants of this world that Aloy would naturally interact with. But most importantly, these side quests bring you to unique locations that you wouldn't have seen had you just stuck to the main story. Many of these quests have you scale these massive mountains, and what you'll see once you've reached the top is oftentimes breathtaking. An oasis filled with ponds, an imposing structure, a flourishing garden. The game has something new to show you at every turn. When I was done these side quests, I was often saying to myself, I'm glad I went off the beaten path to do this, and it was well worth my time. Even the simple quests, like errands, contracts, and enemy bases feel meaningful, and that's because the NPCs never feel like they're talking directly to the player. They are conversing with Aloy, and she is conversing with them. This helps tremendously with the world building. The human communities don't feel like they were shoehorned in to fill a world dominated by machines. They display a wide range of emotions and are always fully invested in what is going on in the story. The numerous settlements are intricate, lively, and well populated. So much effort has gone into how they are laid out and decorated. Their stories aren't just told through the cutscenes, but also through the environment. Massive fossilized machines are littered throughout the land. There's so much intrigue as to how the communities that came before fought both the machines and each other. All of this combined creates an atmosphere of wonder and grandeur. The biggest criticism I've seen for the game is its lack of freeform climbing. The developers were in a tough spot here. They wanted a Tomb Raider style climbing system with predetermined handholds. This allows for a puzzle element to the climbing since players have to observe the environment to find the next handhold. Some climbing sections might even have multiple routes, and it's up to the player to find the fastest one. It also allows the devs to control how the environment is revealed with the narrative. They can block off an entire section until the player has reached that point in the quest. The problem here is that when you're traversing the open world, you'll find a mountain that should be climbable, but isn't. It's missing the yellow handholds that Aloy needs to climb. For players who are used to Breath of the Wild's climbing system, this can be pretty jarring. Breath of the Wild is able to retain a puzzle element with its climbing mechanics because it uses a stamina system. Players have to path out the best route that their stamina would allow. I personally don't think that this stamina system would fit either the structure or the pacing of Horizon Forbidden West. Players would be completely locked out of both side and main quest if they didn't have the required amount of stamina. It could be argued that the quests are still level gated, but these are only recommendations, and under-leveled players can still complete the quest with the right amount of skill and preparation. Assassin's Creed Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla have freeform climbing with no stamina required, but there's also no puzzle element to the climbing in those games. As a result, many fans are hoping that Assassin's Creed goes back to how climbing and parkour was handled in the older games. I personally hope that Horizon sticks to handholds in the next iteration. I enjoy finding the many creative ways the devs integrate climbing routes into the environment. What they can do now to fix the issue is go through the environment and ask, is there a consequence to letting the player climb this area? If the answer is no, they should add the yellow handholds. This would greatly help the traversal. The next criticism I've seen relates to the crafting. Many players don't like how often you have to craft arrows and other throwables. Although I do enjoy the crafting system as a whole, since it allows players to strategize which types of ammo they want to prioritize, I do think the game should allow for much larger ammo pouches from the start. What's worse is that the pouch upgrades require you to hunt a certain amount of animals, and I find animal hunting to be the least fun part of the game. What I did like about the crafting was the addition of the stash. Any resource that you don't have room to pick up goes to your stash to collect later. This curbs much of the tedium that other RPGs have, where you are constantly managing your resources to make room for other items. Overall, these issues didn't really impact my enjoyment of the game. It really has something for everyone, whether that's combat, story, puzzles, and best of all, it's accessible to all players. It can be as easy or as challenging as you want it to be. The world of the Forbidden West is one you just want to get lost in, uncover all of its secrets, and return for more. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to give it a like and subscribe. And most importantly, leave your thoughts in the comment section below. This has been Daven, and thank you for listening.